Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to be discussing with you guys duty belt setup. Believe it or not, setting up your duty belt is pretty crucial in the way that you guys have it prepared to go out on patrol or doing whatever assignment it is that you're doing. We get a lot of messages on social media, emails asking us how we set up our duty belts, and instead of just replying back to everybody, which we've been doing, we thought that we'd get together, make this video, and show you guys how we set up our duty belts and why we set it up the way that we do and how we think it would be best suitable for you out on the streets. So let's jump into it. All right, guys, so let's break down my belt and how I have it set up. I learned really early on when I got out of the academy that setting up your belt is actually crucial, and where you place your items and your tools on your belt actually is a big deal, because when you're out on the streets, you have to be able to access certain tools. Some of them need to be more easy than others. And so I'm gonna go around mine and share with you how I learned how to set up mine and why. So starting out first, I just wanna let it be known that this is a nylon belt, and some of your agencies, I understand, don't probably allow nylon, some probably only allow leather, some probably don't even care, and that's totally fine. And a lot of you probably use outer carrier vests. That's totally fine too. But for those of you that actually wear duty belts, whatever design belt that you wear, it doesn't matter. The setup can still be the same regardless. So I personally wanted to have my handcuff case. Let me pop this open for you guys so you can see it. Okay, I wanted to have my handcuff case right up front with me. And the reason I have it set up right up front and the first thing accessible to my dominant hand is because I want to be able to quickly access my handcuffs if I'm going hands-on with somebody, or if I'm going to detain somebody in handcuffs or place them under arrest. I want it readily available to me with my dominant hand. I use a double pouch handcuff case. Okay, as you guys can see, this seats 2 handcuffs in the pouch. Okay, I wanted all of my handcuffs in one space. From there, I would have my drop leg holster for my firearm. Now, some of you have asked why I carried a drop leg holster, and the simple answer was just doing canine and SWAT. I wanted it to be consistent, because in high stress situations, you're gonna be going to what you know best. I didn't wanna have a drop leg holster on my SWAT gear and then a normal holster for my firearm on my duty belt. I wanted it to be consistent, and the reason being, like I just said, in a high stress situation, I didn't wanna be reverting to one or the other in a bad situation, so I kept it consistent across the board. That's really why I had a drop leg holster on duty and as far as SWAT. Behind my gun, I had, I always wanted to put the least tool that I felt like I would probably use the least behind my gun. And the reason for that is because when you reach around your back, it's kind of an awkward position, right? I'm right hand dominant, my gun's on my right hand. I always felt that if I had to reach for a tool on my belt, it was just an awkward position to be in. So I put what I felt was gonna be the thing that I use the least, and that was my pepper spray. Obviously, there's different reasons why you should have pepper spray. When I was a dog handler, I used it primarily for if dogs were to attack my dog or whatever, I would spray the dog that was trying to pick a fight with my dog. So that's generally why I used it. Most people don't even like to use pepper spray for obvious reasons, because you don't wanna get, it just sucks all the way around if you get pepper sprayed. So that's what I had past my gun. Generally speaking, if you guys can see here, I didn't like anything on the small of my back. So when I would be sitting in my patrol car, I didn't want that, I didn't want my back to feel like it was compressed in an odd way, sitting in your patrol car throughout the day. And, for several years, and I felt like it could damage your back. Mark has his duty belt set up a little different, and he can explain to you the benefits of actually having certain things behind your back if set up properly. So I had nothing behind mine. Moving on past that, I then had my radio holster set up. Okay, you guys, there's obviously various different types of holsters out there. Whatever suits you for your radio is fine. But I had my radio holster kind of at a 45, on my hip, because depending on what kind of microphone that you use, it was just kind of easy for me to reach back and hit the push button on my mic, or obviously if you have a lapel mic, do that. But it was pretty non-constricted for me. Past my radio, I have my flashlight holder, and I have an open-faced flashlight holder, which I noticed Mark has also. The reason for that is I wanted to be able to quickly access my flashlight as fast as I could. I didn't want to have to pop open a lock, then some type of retention and grab my flashlight. I worked graveyards for the majority of my career, doing this for 15 years now, and I have just felt that the faster I can get my flashlight out, the better for me. And I also have that up front, which is on my non-dominant hand, because if I had my firearm in my dominant hand, and for those of you that don't carry tack lights on your firearm, I felt it was an easy transition to non-dominant hand, grab my flashlight, and go out with my firearm on my dominant side. And I wanted it easy access, so it's up front. Moving on past that, I carried my magazine pouch, and I wanted that. I had that set up closest to my non-dominant side for obvious reasons, having to do reloads. I have my mag pouch vertical up and down. The reason for that is I just felt more comfortable when I was out on the range and I would do malfunction drills and I would have to reload my firearm. I felt more comfortable vertical than pulling them out sideways, which also Mark has his setup sideways and he can explain that to you. But honestly, guys, that's all I really carried on my duty belt. I keep it very, very simple and very minimal, because I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable with everything on my belt, and I felt like if I had too much stuff, then in a stressful situation, I wouldn't know exactly where everything was on my belt to be able to access it. So that's my duty belt setup.
What is some of the things that you did to train to make sure that everything is in place where you needed it to be? Because I know this is not the setup that you had when you left the academy.
You're right, and it's not, and that's actually a good point. So when it comes down to training, you guys, you have to make sure that you're training with your gear on. I don't care what type of training it is that you're doing. If you're doing DTAC, if you're going out on the range, if you're doing scenario-based training, if you guys aren't training with your setup that you wear out on patrol, you're doing it wrong. Because the fact is, in a high-stress situation, you're gonna revert back to what you know. And we all know that you don't rise to the occasion, okay? You drop to your lowest level of training. So in other words, if you guys are showing up to scenarios and the proctor hands you a gun and you don't have your proper setup on, and I see this all the time, and guys or gals will stick the gun in their pocket and they're ready to do the scenario, that's wrong, okay? I've put officers through high stress scenarios, and what I have found was the ones that don't train with their proper gear that they would wear every day out on patrol, when the stress happened, they wouldn't know where their proper equipment was that they needed to access, whether it be just a flashlight, any type of tool that they needed to access under stress. They didn't even know where it was on their belt or on their tack vest. So very, very crucial that when you guys are out training, always have your gear on, okay? And you know what? If someone makes fun of you for it, I don't know what to tell you other than I feel sorry for them, not you, because you're ahead of the game. So that's how I learned how to be proficient with my equipment, and I keep it the same every time. I don't switch stuff up. I told you the consistency of keeping my holster the same on patrol as I did for SWAT was for that reason. So that's how I trained with it. So how about you, Mark? What's your? You have a little bit different setup, which is totally okay. There is not one way to skin a cat. Just know why you have your belt set up the way that you do, and go ahead and explain yours to us.
So this is my belt. It is all nylon. When I graduated the academy, at the time, they only had nylon, which was very light product, or leather. Leather was very heavy, so I went nylon. This is the exact belt from the day I graduated the academy to exact how it is today, 15 years later. What I did is I mashed this side down and folded it back, and I heated this with an iron to get the plastic nice and flat, and then I zip tied it. Everything on my belt is zip tied so nothing moves. In the front, I have my magazine pouch, and it's horizontal. The thought for me behind that was pulling the magazine out at a 45, at a 3-0, and then turning it, and it goes directly up. So in here, you're coming out here, and it's directly up. Then I have my keeper right in front of my gun, and then my gun, and then another keeper. And the gun is right on the right side of my hip. keepers on both sides, so this doesn't move at all. And it's designed and set up for weight distribution. So if I'm running, it's totally level. Right behind that, I have my key pouch. These are just keys to get into certain apartment complexes, street lights, Knox boxes, and an extra patrol car key and a bump key. I kept this tight, it never jingled, and I had rubber bands around it, and I rarely ever accessed this. Behind this, even on both sides of my spine, on my lower back, is my handcuffs. I have singles. The reason I went with this is sitting in a patrol car, I also have a patrol vest on that's thick. So theoretically, the distance of here to my lower back and then the vest to the back of the seat kind of creates the same. So I wasn't awkward in the seat. And then also this protected my spine. So if I fell on the ground or rolled away, my spine was actually protected by this. Next to that, I have the keeper and then my radio. My radio and my gun is fairly close to the same weight. So my radio is on the exact same angle across my body. So the weight distribution was exactly the same. And then I have my baton and then a taser. The thought for me of keeping my baton and taser on my left side is everything is accessible easily with my non-dominant hand. So if I ever had to do anything, my gun hand was always free. I never used my gun hand for any tools, not even handcuffs. It was always my non-dominant hand. And then I have my flashlight. I like the same concept that you had, the open. It's right in front because I'm gonna access a light quickly and I need it. And I didn't want it on my back. That's also zip tied. And then in the middle, I put 2 additional zip ties and an extra patrol car key with a ring. And I would pull it out if I needed it as an emergency. I always had 1 key. In this way, if it fell off my belt and I lost anything, I would only be losing a key and no other keys on that. So that's the reason for my setup. It's set up for weight distribution for me. It's very level when all the gear is in it. It was tight on my waist. The keepers were on either side. So if I ran, nothing ever moved. So that's how I set mine up.
And you bring up a good point as far as keepers. You guys, keepers are actually a big deal, okay? There's a lot of duty belt manufacturers out there that it's all Velcro, okay? And you can actually see my nylon belt is Velcro, and I believe Mark's, yours is also. Yeah. And the idea behind that is to where obviously you're gonna have your underbelt on, and the idea is to just Velcro it to your underbelt. I don't like that because Velcro wears out. You can see our belts, you know, they're significantly older, but Velcro does wear down and there's nothing there to prevent the belt from falling, you know, either falling off or becoming loose. If you were to actually need to pull your firearm out, you know, you might rip the whole belt off. So keepers are a very big deal, and where you put your keepers are also a big deal. Mark and I both like to have keepers in front of the firearm holster and behind it. And the reason I like to do that is because I don't want whatever tool that I have behind my firearm holster, I don't want it sliding so close to my gun that in the event that I had to pull my gun out, I don't want to be hitting any objects behind the firearm and preventing me from either getting the gun out or just simply blocking my range of motion. So having a keeper for that little bit of gap is actually is a big deal. And then obviously, you know, securing keepers around your belt to secure the entire belt so that if you had to grab anything off your belt, it's not wiggling, it's not coming loose, you're not, you know, pulling up on it and creating a problem. So all in all, I had a total of 5 keepers. And again, that was just because I had an extra one behind my gun holster so that my range of motion wasn't blocked by anything.
So these are just 2 different ways that we decided to set up our belts. Remember, if you're gonna set your duty belt up, have a reason for it, have the time to train with it, make sure it's set up and practical for you. So thanks for tuning in. Check us out at shotsfiredpodcast.org.